guys, what's going on? Alfie with another video. In this video, today, I'll be doing a review of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And the reason I'm going to be doing that is because I don't think I've ever done a video game review, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have to look that up. The reason I want to do this is because I looked up the other day, I looked up the IGN Black Ops 3 review. And the reason I did that is because usually after I play a game, I look them up because IGN's kind of the standard in reviewing games. Most people kind of look up the IGN review after the game comes out, and I was just so pissed off when I saw this. They had, if you literally right now, open up a new tab right now in your internet browser and just look up IGN Black Ops 3 review. And if you go to the end of the video, they have pros and cons, and just get this, they gave the game no cons and like a 9.5 rating. That is it's just bullshit in every sense of the word, because here's why. Even the most perfect game has problems with it. Even the greatest game has, you can say there's something wrong with it, because every game's got something wrong. No, there might be minor things, especially to give it no cons and almost a perfect rating is just ludicrous. Now, Black Ops 3, it's a good game. I'm not going to lie, because I'm going to review it right now, but I mean, that's just not doing a justice to a review. I mean, a review is you're supposed to look at the good and the bad and the in between and kind of put it all out there in a non-biased way to let people decide whether or not they want the game. And I'm looking up some of these reviewers, and they're just it's not even a review. It's just, either they're saying the game's perfect or it's just a rant. So what I'm going to try to do here is go through campaign, multiplayer, and zombies and kind of do pros and cons for each one. Just to kind of give a really, really honest review. Alright, so let's get started with campaign, kind of slash overall, I guess. So the first thing I'm going to say is this campaign is really weird. It's just really out there, bizarre, weird. And whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess is up to you. If you like to play real sci-fi kind of imaginative games, then this is the game for you. But for me, and I guess we're starting with the cons early here. My main problem with the campaign of this game is that it doesn't make any sense until you're done with it, and then even then you might have to kind of Google it and go on Call of Duty Wiki to find out exactly what was going on. I don't even think the people on Call of Duty Wiki knew what was going on, because when I was putting up my my walkthroughs of the game, I was trying to look up each mission so I could come up with a description of it, because I couldn't remember what the mission was about, because I kind of did 11 of them in one day or 2 days or whatever, however many missions there were. So I was trying to look it up and understand the plot so I could remember what it was about and write a description. And I think even now they don't even have descriptions for each mission, because nobody knows what the hell this game's about. I mean, until you get to the end, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it is just so weird, and I don't want to spoil the plot, but basically what happens is, if you think about Black Ops 2, so Black Ops 2 is a great game. You think about Black Ops 2, I remember watching an interview with the guy at Treyarch, I think 3 years ago the game came out, and they asked him, kind of what's the design, or what's the reasoning, what's the, why'd you make this game, basically, what's this game about? And he said that, well, what we wanted to do with Treyarch was kind of imagine the conflicts of the future, kind of based on what's going on now, kind of imagine what the future is going to be like, the whole kind of the world is black thing, the whole, kind of Treyarch Call of Duty thing, what they've been doing for years now. It's kind of predicting, future things and doing things that are kind of, on the edge, things that are kind of out there. And so Black Ops 2 took place in 2025, and the, kind of the plot of the game, as I remember, was kind of, there were drones, and the evil guy, Menendez, hacked the drones, and you had to, shut the drones down because they were attacking everybody. So Black Ops 3 takes place in 2065, so way out in the future. They're basically trying to do the same thing, kind of predict what the future is going to be like. And it's just really out there. So basically, without spoiling the plots, what happens in this game is there's these things called DNIs that the people have. It's like a chip that people have in their heads that lets them kind of communicate without, having to use microphones or talk to each other or whatever. And it lets them kind of do superhuman stuff. If they lose a limb or something, they can get a robot limb and do robot stuff. And, it gets hacked. There was a secret government program, and it gets messed up, and you gotta stop it. But it's just really weird. And what happens is it gets to the point where they might as well not call it Call of Duty. And I know it's, look, I mean, it's a different direction for the series, but just kind of historically, so 2000, I think 2011 was the last not sci-fi Call of Duty game that was released, the last not futuristic one, that was Modern Warfare 3. 2011. And so the point of having all these futuristic games is because people were complaining that, it's the same thing every year. So Activision decides, all right, well, let's come up with something futuristic, something different, that will kind of reinvigorate the series. And since it's been that long, I didn't even realize till I've been doing this review right now, it's been since 2011, so we're coming up on 5 years, 2016 will have been 5 years, because it's the end of 2015 right now. It's been 5 years of futuristic games, and it's gotten to the point where the futuristic games in and of themselves have become repetitive. And it's gotten to the point where, like, before Black Ops 3 was announced, people were hoping it was going to be another World War II game, myself included. Like Treyarch was kind of going to make another one of those. That game would be awesome if they made that. But it's gotten to the point where we want to go back to the ones we said that were repetitive before, because it's been so many years of the same thing that at this point that seems different. And it's gotten to the point where, Black Ops 3, it's just so weird and so out there, and I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, that they could call it something else. Like, it could be its own game at this point, because it's not Call of Duty. Really, when I was playing this campaign... Now, the important thing that I want to say is there are parts of this campaign that are Call of Duty. There's a lot of Call of Duty in there, but then there's a lot of this weird, like, I don't want to name games that's similar to, because people will get mad and say it's nothing like that, and that, I'm, trashing the game by saying Call of Duty similar to it. But, it's almost kind of like Halo, I guess you could say. There's some really futuristic, weird sci-fi imaginative parts of this campaign. But the way that Treyarch does it, and I think that they must have realized this and kind of did it on purpose, there are parts where it's just Call of Duty. Like, there's this one mission where you're flying jets and you're helping out the Egyptian army, but you're helping them because you're kind of going with them to help them attack the place you need to get to. And then as soon as you get there, you get like this bizarro cutscene that doesn't make any sense, and there's like heads and bodies and like just people that like done, there's like babies, and it doesn't even make like trees, it doesn't even make sense. And then all of a sudden you just kind of snap out of it, and you're playing the game and you're fighting with some guys and you're driving a tank or whatever. And then out of nowhere, there's like you're going down waves like horizontally. It doesn't, there's like there's one mission where there's just zombies, like they just put in like a plug for zombie mode. There's a mission where it's World War II again, like you're just fight World War II, and all of a sudden it's like there's a baby in the woods, and it's just really, it's not a Call of Duty game. There's parts that are Call of Duty games, and those parts are really fun, but then there's these really just sci-fi parts that seem like they belong in a different game. They just kind of seem out of nowhere. And the way they transition in between, kind of the Call of Duty components and kind of the, Treyarch-ish, futuristic sci-fi X-Files material, they do it in such a way that it's very clear that you're kind of going from a normal game to something weird. Like, it's not really intertwined. It's just, whatever. But I'm not going to spoil any more of the plot. It's just kind of, it is what it is. I'm not sure if that's good or that's bad. It's kind of up to you, depending on whether or not you like a more traditional game, kind of like I do, or you're into this, X-Files kind of stuff. So anyways, that's kind of cons, pro, / overall, whatever you want to say about it. But in terms of the campaign, so, that, weird stuff aside, this is very much a Treyarch game on levels that I don't think people even understand. Like, I know some people don't even play the campaign. They just pay $60, they pop it in, and they load up the multiplayer, and then, and then that's it. They just play that. But I every game I get, that has a campaign, I play campaign first because I want to understand, what the game's about and just really get a grip on it before I do multiplayer. And I enjoy campaign. I think it's funny. I like the story kind of thing about it. Who doesn't like a good story? But and when I say but, it makes it sound like I'm about to say something bad. And I don't think this is bad at all. It's just an observation. This is very much decidedly, clearly, markedly, it's very much a Treyarch game. And when I say that, first of all, like the weapons, and I think I said this in the first walkthrough for the first mission that I did, the weapon sounds are the same. It's like the same kind of tinny sounds. And I'm not saying that's bad, but it's clearly this is Treyarch. Like if somebody just gave you like this game and didn't tell you what it was or who made it, you'd be able to figure out it's a Treyarch game. It's just clearly Treyarch's hands are all over this game. Not only in terms of the weird stuff, but just like things people don't even understand that I understand just because I think like this for some reason. But if you think about it, I don't know if Treyarch's listening to. Of course, they're not listening to this. But there's components to different developers' video games that kind of extend, I think, subconsciously in the minds of the developers. They kind of carry over into the next game. It's kind of, something that they do that you can always tell they made the game, because it's just something the creators of the game, something that they're drawn to. And I think that in Treyarch, at least the Treyarch Call of Duty games, there's, in the campaign at least, there's always this sense of the ocean, I'm kind of, this sounds like an English class now, but just kind of bear with me here for a minute. So there's always this sense in the campaign, or of, like any Treyarch Call of Duty game, or most of the last few, all the way back to maybe World at War or Black Ops 1. There's always this sense of the sea, or when I say the sea, I mean the ocean, or kind of the unknown. And, when I say this, kind of like in literature, if you've ever gone to school before, I'm thinking back to like years ago when they taught us this, I don't even remember. But, you think about like the ocean kind of symbolizing the unknown, about dark, kind of symbolizing darkness and the subconscious, and kind of our fears and things that are hidden. Every Treyarch game has this. Every Treyarch game has a moment like this. If you think I'm full of shit, just listen to this for one more minute. So, think back to Black Ops 1. The ending of Black Ops 1, if you haven't played it, just don't listen to this part. But the ending of, that game's like 5 years old. You probably should have played it by now. But the ending of Black Ops 1 is you have to go to, there's this under the ocean, there's this broadcasting tower that's broadcasting, these codes or messages to these sleeper cells in the United States, like they're kind of Soviet or whatever, that are gonna do attacks or what have you. And you gotta, it's you can't see it, above land, or I think there's like a boat above land that's kind of the top of it, and you gotta attack it, and you go on the boat, and you go underwater, and you gotta go all the way down. It's like the bottom of the ocean. There's this big tower, and there's bad guys in it. And you gotta go up inside, and it's, the thing blows up, and you have to swim all the way up to the top. You destroy the tower before they, tell the sleeper cells to attack the country, and you blow it up, and you swim all the way up to the top of the water. Completed the game. You've confronted this mysterious, kind of almost James Bondish villain that you were after. Some kind of like this, what was his name? Like Dragovich, whoever the villain was. In the first Black Ops game, you kind of you confront this evil that you've been chasing the whole game, and you come up to the surface, and then, I don't know how I remember this, but there was the guy, Weaver was his name, kind of pulls you up on the boat, the sun's shining, there's, music playing, and he says, we did this, we won. Then you think about, Black Ops 2. So that was Black Ops 1. So Black Ops 2, the drones are attacking everybody. You jump out of a plane, you parachute into this base that's this heavily guarded base where they're broadcasting, or not broadcasting, but they're controlling the drones, rather. And the drones are, wreaking all kinds of havoc all over the world. You got to go in there, you're trying to get to, Menendez was the villain in that game. You're trying to confront this elusive villain, this, messed up stuff's going to happen. And you go in there, you shut it down, and and that's it. You shoot Menendez. Spoiler. I think you got to decide what you want to do in that game. You confront the evil, and then that's it. Black Ops 3, and I only realized this in Black Ops 3 that Treyarch does this, is it's the same idea of the dark depths of the unknown. And I'm not sure if they do this on purpose, or it's subconscious, or what is it, or what it is, rather. I guess I can't talk today. But so Black Ops 3, and if you haven't played it, just kind of skip this part. But Black Ops 3, you go to this place in Singapore, and it's kind of like this big kind of circular building type thing, and you have to find out what was going on way underground at this place, because there was like some kind of the Taylor was there, something bad happened. And I think Treyarch is aware that they do this, because there are several points that, like, the character Hendrix says, get ready for some, how much you want to bet there's messed up stuff down here. So I think they're kind of aware of this. But you have to go to this, place, and you keep jumping down, and you keep going down, like underground, and it gets to the point where it's, like, so dark you can't see, and you need night vision or something. And it's like, it doesn't even make sense how far it goes down underground. You get down there, and there's like the one guy who was on your side, but then he's not, and robots attack you, and you find out the dark truth about this virus that's, you know, kind of making everybody go haywire. And then the enemies flood the underground, and then the water pushes you up to the surface, you know, from the dark depths of the underground, you know, evil place that you were at, you know, which is a lot like the ending of the first Black Ops game, when you swim up from the, you know, like the bottom of the ocean after the place kind of got, you know, bombed or destroyed or whatever. And so you come out of there, and, you know, that's that. And then it happens again, like you go down and you find like these, you know, dead bodies that they had, you know, I guess they kill. It doesn't even make sense. But the same thing, you go down there and the building's coming down and you got to come up. And it's this same idea of there kind of being this, you know, this subconscious, this unknown that's in, it kind of permeates every Treyarch game. They have this same thing where you got to go in, you got to find this, you know, this bad guy you've been after, and you come up, you do what you got to do, and then that's that. And so at the end of Black Ops 3, you have to go into the Coalescence building, which is the place that was the source of, you know, kind of like the virus that was kind of, you know, making everybody go nuts, the DNI bug or whatever it is. You have to go in there. Then you go into like this weird dream state sort of thing, and you do whatever it is you're going to do, and it doesn't make sense, and it's all weird. And you get to, you know, wipe the DNI or purge it, I think that means, which just means like you have to erase, you know, the chip that everybody has to get rid of the virus. So if you think about like if you have a virus on your computer and you can't get rid of it, you have to, you know, wipe the hard drive. So that's basically what you have to do. And so kind of you walk out of there, you know, you walk up out of the depths of the basement of the building, like way underground. You come up to the top, you walk out the front door, and this guy kind of grabs you and he says, you know, "Soldier, are you all right? What's your name?" And he says, "What's your name?" And the guy says Taylor, which is like the guy who was dead or whatever. You know, and he kind of says, you know, "What's your name? How are you? Whatever." And there's a bunch of troops coming in, and it's kind of like, you know, the battle's over. This is it. And if you think about it, that happens in every Black Ops game. Black Ops 1, you come up to the surface, Weaver pulls you up on the ship and says, "It's over, we did it." Black Ops 2, you know, you shoot Menendez and it's like, "All right, it's over, we did it." This game, you know, you wipe the DNIs, you get rid of the virus, everything's, you know, supposed to be all right. You walk up, you know, to outside, the guy says, "Are you all right? What's your name?" You know, the troops are coming in, you know, the game's ending, the music's playing, it's over, we did it. So it's kind of the same kind of idea of kind of having to confront this elusive, you know, dark thing that doesn't make any sense. And it just kind of, you know, it's good, I think, you know, kind of, you know, in terms of storytelling, it's kind of an effective way of telling that sort of story. But at the same time, is it repetitive? Kinda, I guess you could say that. But I guess overall, it's just kind of Treyarch's idea of what the future is going to be like. Now, whether or not it's good, I mean, like I said, the only material con that's not, you know, opinion-based that I can come up with is that it doesn't really make sense until the end of the campaign. You really don't understand it in its entirety, or really at all. Like, each level doesn't really make sense until you get to the end. I kind of understood what happened. But other than that, it's just kind of up to you whether or not you want to play a really weird kind of Psycho X-Files future game. But at the same time, I need to point out that there is Call of Duty in there. There are, like, combat, there's things you got to do, but I just don't think it's effective the way Treyarch transitions between that and kind of the, you know, the sci-fi sort of thing. Because, you know, and I think you know, everybody who makes Call of Duty games, you know, like Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, they all kind of say it, you know, when they do interviews or whatever at the different game expos or shows. They kind of say, you know, there's a lot of different people who like to play our Call of Duty games a lot of different ways. Like, there's people who want to play kind of old school. There's people who like the future stuff. There's people, you know, who are, you know, like to, you know, really hardcore players. There's, you know, just kind of casual players. So they're catering to a lot of different needs, which is why I think you have, you know, there's Call of Duty in there. Like, there's the jet mission, there's tanks and stealth, and, you know, you got to rescue somebody and different things like that. And then at the same time, you know, there's, you know, kind of this sci-fi sort of thing going on. But I just think the problem is, you know, how effective do they kind of, you know, transition in between the sci-fi stuff with the traditional Call of Duty stuff. And normally Treyarch does a good job of that, but I think in this game, just it's kind of too, you know, they're trying to cater to too many different crowds, and they're trying to make too many different games all in one. But, you know, if you like that kind of thing, if you like, you know, future stuff, then this is the game for you. But all in all, I think it's out there. It's a different direction for the series, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I think, though, you know, just kind of a word of caution, if Call of Duty keeps going in this direction, I think they're going to go down, and it's just because you can only do that so much. You can only make so many futuristic games, like I said before, the futuristic game itself becomes repetitive. So I'd like to see at some point they kind of go back to the more traditional, games like the World War II games or even the Modern Warfare games, or just something like that. But it's interesting. It's a different direction, but we're just kind of gonna see where that takes us. It's it's different. It's fun. But like I said, it kind of is what it is. It's up to you if that's the kind of game you want to play. But all right, let's go to multiplayer now, because I've been talking it's been like 20, holy crap, it's been like 20 minutes I've been talking about campaign. All right, so for ratings, I'm going to go ahead and give campaign a 6.5 out of 10. I know that's kind of lowballing it, but the problems of campaign are kind of significant, I think, in my opinion. In the fact that you don't really understand the story until you get to the very end of the game. And I mean, some people might understand more of it than I did, but really you kind of have to get to the end to understand what the whole thing was, which just kind of makes 10 out of the 11 or however many missions there are confusing. The other thing is there's kind of like there's a Call of Duty game in there, and then there's this weird sci-fi game that's also there, and the transitions are really ineffective. Like there's the mission where you're in Egypt and you're flying jets and stuff, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere there's this weird kind of cutscene, and there's like a baby and like a forest. It just doesn't, it's just kind of ineffective and doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, it gets to the point where are they going to make a Call of Duty game or are they not? Because it gets to the point where, you're playing it and you're thinking, what the hell? I mean, I think if you watch my my walkthrough of the mission, I forget which one it's called, but the one that's, has the weird cutscene, I think I put in the description that this one's really weird. And I think if you watch anybody else doing a walkthrough of it, because I've seen some other walkthroughs of, the different missions in the game, and everybody else kind of is also clueless as to what's going on, because like you'll be playing a game that's clearly a Call of Duty game, and then out of nowhere it's just weird and doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's one mission where you're playing it, and all of a sudden it's just World War II, and you're in Bastogne, and it's just it's not enough of a Call of Duty game at certain times. It just kind of feels inconsistent and kind of weird. I mean, there's some weird parts of the game. And I understand that they got to do different things to make the game unique, but it gets to the point where it's just kind of sacrifices what the game is supposed to be all about, and it does get confusing at times. So again, 6.5 out of 10 for a campaign. Now the reason I'm saying these things is because I've seen some reviews, like I said, the IGN review, where they just think the game's perfect, which is clearly not the case. I mean, no game is perfect. All right, so for the multiplayer, for the pros, first of all, is very finely tuned weapon mechanics. That's kind of one of the things that Call of Duty is known for. It's one of the things that I noticed. Just very smooth, very fluid, very balanced. It doesn't seem like there are any weapons that are kind of, have an unfair advantage over the others. One of the things that are, kind of added into the multiplayer in Black Ops 3 is that there are specialist soldiers. Now, specialists, every, soldier, you have like a gun and, you kind of have all your perks and everything like that. But you choose one specialist where you kind of get like a third, capability. And it's kind of like, there's one that's like an electric gun. There's another one that's like a hammer, kind of like Thor, and you slam it down and it, kind of kills the enemies that are around you. And just different things like that. Demolition mode is back. That's one of my favorite modes in the Call of Duty games. I'm glad to see that they brought that back. It has the same system where you have to pick a certain number of perks to use, or weapons or attachments or whatever. It's kind of different than in some of the games where you kind of have like a limit. You pick one of these perks, pick one of those. Where you kind of have to pick a certain number of as many different things as you want. But overall, it's very smooth. It's very balanced. Treyarch did not disappoint. Now, speaking of disappointment, for the cons, I think this might just be my opinion, but I think the unlock point system's kind of annoying. They've had it in the last few Call of Duties, and it's just kind of like you have to like earn up XP or earn up points to earn unlock points, and then you use those points to unlock new weapons. And it's just kind of an annoying system because, years ago in the Call of Duties, you would just kind of like level up and then the weapon would unlock on its own. And the problem with unlock points, I think it kind of discourages people from using different weapons because you kind of have to pay, well, not pay like real money, but pay kind of fake points in the game to unlock new weapons. And it just kind of discourages people from using different weapons. It's kind of like everybody's using the same ones because, you have to pay to unlock new weapons, and you never really get to use all of them if you have to pay for each one that you unlock. So that's kind of annoying. I've never really liked that. At times it does seem kind of similar to Black Ops 2, almost too similar, kind of like the map design, the weapon sounds. It's just very much a Treyarch game, which depending on whether or not you like that, makes it a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's not a terrible thing. It seems like they could have done more to make it feel A little bit more different than Black Ops 2. It also does have a lot of similarities to Advanced Warfare. And again, if, that's a good or a bad thing, depending on whether or not you liked Advanced Warfare, just kind of in the sense of like the running and boosting and jumping and scaling walls. In this game, instead of kind of jetpacking over things, you kind of like run sideways across walls and do different things like that. So it just kind of keeps going in the direction of futuristic. All right, so for a rating for multiplayer, I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8 out of 10. It's very fun. It's very smooth. It's all the things that you enjoy about a Call of Duty multiplayer. The weapon mechanics are very fluid. It's just a very nice multiplayer. It's all the things you kind of come to expect from Treyarch in terms of multiplayer, just from Call of Duty multiplayer in general. The only cons is that it does seem kind of too similar to Advanced Warfare, and at times Black Ops 2. Alright, so now for Zombie Mode. First of all, the pros of Zombie Mode, let's just start there. It's a very fun mode. It's the same fun, formulaic sort of zombie mode that we've been enjoying since World at War. Treyarch did not disappoint in this category. There's, a new map. One of the things I did notice, though, and I think this is a pro, because Treyarch really kind of went out of their way to make it clear what the story of Zombie Mode is. If you think back to the very first Zombies map in World at War, or even the maps after that for however long, there wasn't really a clear story to Zombie Mode. You just kind of survived until you got killed, and that's still the case. But even in the first zombie map in this game, it's like the Shadow or something, whatever it's called. I don't even remember. Even though I played quite a bit of it, I don't remember what the name is. Like kind of as you're playing right from the beginning, there's kind of like this voice narrating the level and telling you, here's what you got to do, go here, do this, this is why you're here, this, that, and the other thing. Whereas before it was kind of unclear and there was kind of clues here and there and it was kind of pieced together. But now there's kind of a clear, more clear story to it, which is something that I think is kind of cool. Another thing is there's this mode I don't even think most people even know exists. It's called Nightmares Mode. It's like a weird sort of zombie version of the missions, I guess, from what I take. I haven't even played it, but just from what I read up about it, it's just kind of like a zombie kind of side mode for each mission, I guess, which it kind of goes hand in hand with the idea that there's, when they call it Nightmares Mode, it's kind of because in each mission, the player kind of has nightmares to some extent, so there's this weird sort of sci-fi things that, sort of happens, so this dream state, I guess, if you will, that I didn't really enjoy that part, but I guess it kind of continues with that idea that there's kind of regular, battles and things that you do, and then there's also these kind of side, black ops sort of sci-fi things going on in the same mission. So it's kind of continues in that, with that trend. So for the cons of Zombie Mode, I think that, one of the biggest ones is that in the years since the last Black Ops game, Black Ops 2, that was in 2012, there's kind of been this huge expansion or explosion in zombie games, zombie media. You think about DayZ or like the movie like World War Z. I've never even seen that. But just all this kind of, zombie media type thing. And the biggest example as far as video games are concerned is DayZ. Now, DayZ, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of like a zombie mode add-on for Arma. When Arma's a hyper-realistic first-person shooter for PC, and you kind of have to watch your health and put fuel in your vehicles, and the map's really big, and just all these sorts of things that make it really realistic. And that's kind of really expanded and become really popular since the last Call of Duty Zombies game, and I was kind of hoping to see Treyarch kind of take some things, from DayZ, I guess, or just kind of expand the model that they've used for every sort of zombies map. And they just didn't do that. I mean, they did expand some things, there's kind of the create a class for zombies now. Or not create a class, whatever the system is where you kind of pick perks, the bubblegum thing, just different things that they've added on to the zombie mode. But at the same time, it's the same kind of core sandboxed experience where you're kind of in this little, limited map and you have to open the door to the next part and you just kind of survive until you die. I mean, I guess that kind of worked for, the first, few games here, but it gets to the point where it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you kind of have to expand it, especially when you have, something like DayZ that's just really popular. I mean, just think about how fun it would be, if there were vehicles in the Call of Duty Zombies, or if you could kind of build up a defense or go up, go into a building or climb up into a tower where zombies can't get you and snipe, or just do different things like that. But it's still kind of the same sandboxed, kind of experience. Whereas there's a lot of opportunity for Treyarch to kind of expand into a more open world type zombies thing. And I mean, I don't want to get too off topic here, but they actually did have that planned a few years ago. There was going to be an open world Call of Duty game. And when I say open world, I mean bigger maps, not kind of sandboxed and closed in. Like Call of Duty has. And there was supposed to be that. I mean, there was going to be an open world game and then Activision canceled it. But that would just kind of be cool as far as zombies are concerned. I mean, how you can't keep doing the same thing, and because after a while it's going to get repetitive. I mean, it would be cool to see. I mean, I don't think that they have to copy DayZ, but just kind of maybe have vehicles or just have some different things in there to kind of expand into something that's, more open world, more fun. And has more opportunities to do different things, as opposed to just running around and shooting zombies and buying guns off the wall in the same sort of limited environments. All right, so for a rating for Zombies mode, I'm going to give that a 6.5 out of 10. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's been 3 years since we've gotten the last Call of Duty game that had zombies in it. 3 years. So they've had 3 years to come up with new, a new sort of, zombie mode, or just work on the next installment in the series. And it's just too similar to previous zombie modes that we've seen. I mean, like I said, I was kind of not expecting, but I was curious to see if, in the 3 years in between where we've kind of seen the rise of DayZ, if they'd kind of expand from the sandbox mode that it is to something, that has vehicles or just something different. And it's not really different at all. I mean, there's some differences, there's some things that are unique, but it's not different enough to justify waiting 3 years to see it. So that's kind of the rating that I give to zombie mode. And like I said, there's some people who think the game's perfect and everything's all, peaches and cream when it isn't, and no game is. So I give this game a 7 out of 10. So there you go. That's just a brute. Oh my, this video is so freaking... I'm looking at the timer right now for how long I've been recording. This is a long-ass review. But it's an honest review nonetheless. So there you have it. I give the game a 7 out of 10 for whatever it's worth, and that might not be much. It just kind of depends on what you think about the game. So there you go. There's an honest review. Maybe a little bit too honest, but anyway, there you have it. Alright, so that's going to do it until next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you're even still watching at this point, I applaud you. But please leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is that you want to do. Alright, thanks for